Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Baldur's Gate 3 Wizard Spell Tutorial. And just to make it clear from the beginning, this is for controller purposes. You may be able to follow along if you are mouse and keyboard, but you'll have to understand your interface is different and controls are going to be completely different. But PlayStation controllers should be similar to Xbox in most cases. Shouldn't have trouble following this at all. Just understand the difference between the keys. Well, the buttons are slightly different, and they obviously have different designations, but essentially they're laid out the same, so it should be okay. Now, it doesn't matter whether you're using Gale or any other wizard. I have a wizard as my main character. But to simplify things, we're going to use Gale, and we have to go over a few basic combat procedures using the status bar. We're going to do that as well, just quickly so we can get into the status bar, which is very important for a wizard. Wizards are the toolboxes of your party. You must consider the advantages. They can save you a lot of trouble. They may not be mandatory, but they sure as hell are going to make your life a lot easier. All you got to do is practice, experiment, and understand what those spells can do for you, which is unbelievable. In combat, out of combat, they will save you a ton of hassle. So the sooner you do that for yourself, the better off you're going to be. Just to get started, we're actually going to go into turn-based mode. So from the shortcut menu, I'm going to go there. And this is just to simulate combat and give you a feel for that. So the first thing we're going to do is look at the status bar at the bottom of the screen. So in the case of movement, I move my controller around and the cursor will show how many feet that will cost. If it's imperial, it's feet. If it's metric, it's going to be meters, obviously. But it doesn't really matter. Same principle applies. The cursor will show exactly how many feet you're spending. But the status bar at the bottom of the center of the screen is also going to show you in two ways. First, there's a yellow bar that goes down. The more feet you're spending, until it goes all the way down to nothing. And right underneath that, you'll see a counter indicating how much do you have left. So in this case, if I go here, it's going to take me 28.8 feet, and the status bar is going to show that bar goes all the way down to nothing, and you'll have 0.4 feet remaining, which is nothing. So here we go. All right, and there's really nothing left. I can't do anything with that. So let's just say that's not going to cut it. I need to get from point A to point B in a single turn. I can't afford to stop now. Let's see what we can do. So I bring up my action menu with the right shoulder button, and I believe that's the same for PlayStation controllers. And we have a whole bunch of green stuff here, and some orange stuff as well. So green is standard action. It's the most important action in most cases. Not always, but in most cases. And this wheel right here tells us, what we get that every class gets. Everybody gets these. Jump, throw, shove, dip, improvised melee weapon, throwing a chair, or a creature for that purpose, dash, hide, disengage, and help. Everybody gets these. So we're going to go ahead and just use a standard action to dash. Well, all right. Now, if we look at the status bar at the bottom of the screen, not only do we have more on that movement bar, which clearly shows as we extend it farther out that we're using more, but we also have more feet left on the counter as well, another 30.4 feet. So we're going here. And you see that bar goes down as I move. And now I only have 3.7 feet remaining, which you can't really do anything with. Okay, no problem. Great. Now I've moved 60 feet. But that's still not enough. I need to get from point A to point B in a single turn. Oh, how am I going to do that? Well, Gale's a wizard. Let's see what a wizard can do, maybe. Oh, wait a second. Oh, we still got a few things left. That's because we have a bonus action. By the way, bonus actions are awesome for healing potions. You know, so those are really useful. But what's this? Okay, it's Misty Step. Below the wheel of actions, it tells us what we can do here. Surrounded by silver mist, you teleport to an unoccupied space you can see. And it says the cost is a bonus action and a level 2 spell slot. Well, all right then. Let's do it. Oh, what's this? I can use a level 2 spell slot. I can't use level 1 because the spell itself is level 2. But you can always upscale all the spells in your repertoire. You can't downscale them, but you can always upscale them or upcast. Basically, this means I can cast Misty Step as a level 2 or level 3 or even a level 4 spell. What benefit do I gain? Well, if I'm out of level 2 spell slots, that's the benefit. The drawback is if it's only a level 2 spell and you're wasting a level 3 slot to cast a level 2 spell, and that kind of sucks. But I mean, if you really need to cast it, you don't have a choice. So let's say we were out of level 2 spell slots. Well, good news is we can still cast the spell. But we're wasting either a level 3 or a level 4 spell slot to do it. For now, I'm going to cast Misty Step as a level 4 spell. Let's pretend we only have one level 4 slot and we have no 3 slots, no 2 slots, and just a level 4 slot available. Well, all right. Now we've moved well over 100 feet and we even have the high ground. So that's nice. But now we're really hit. Was it worth it? Well, that depends on the situation. So we're going to leave turn-based mode. And now we're going to go over those spell slots that we just talked about. First and foremost, you got to bring up the action menu to see the status bar. And the status bar is going to tell you all about your spell slots. So from left to right, we have the standard action, which is a green circle. The bonus action, which is an orange triangle. The movement counter, which is almost out. It's kind of weird because we're out of combat, but whatever. There must be a holdover from the last turn, I guess. If I go back into... Oh, wow. Okay, there we go. Okay, it came back. All right. That's what I figured. I'm like, where's my movement? Okay, there we go. But at any rate, it will reset, in between combat. So, bringing up the action menu. What else do we have on that bar? Well, for a wizard, we have spell slots and something at on the far right corner that looks like a squiggly blue line. There's 4 of those. Not sure what that is. Well, let's find out. First, let's talk about spell slots. I have 4 level 1 spell slots available. Again, think of it as ammunition. I have 3 level 2 slots, 3 level 3 slots. I have no 4th level slots remaining. I just used it. And then I have these 4 charges. What that is this thing right here. Arcane Recovery. What this does, and you see as I'm moving moving my stick on it, it's showing that it costs an action and an arcane recovery charge. Still not. I still don't understand why it costs an action, because you can't do this out unless you're out of combat. But whatever, I guess that they still have to factor the importance of it being. It's very important. The reason why is because you can get that 4th level spell slot back, or anything below it for that matter. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So we're out of combat, which is the first requirement. So I'm going to bring up my action menu. I'm going to go to Arcane Recovery, which you can see on the status bar at the bottom of the screen. Clearly costs an action plus that Arcane Recovery charge. I'm gonna hit the button to select it, and we have 4 options here. I could recover 4 of these, which are level 1 spell slots. Obviously, we don't need to do that. I could recover 2 level 2 spell slots. I could also do a combo. I could recover 1 level 3 spell slot and still have a charge left to recover a level 1 spell slot. Or I can recover a level 4 spell slot, which obviously exhausts my charges completely. So again, I could recover all of my level 1 spell slots one at a time. I could recover 2 level 2 spell slots because each one costs 2 charges. 1 level 3 and still have a charge left for a level 1, or a level 4, which exhausts the charges. So we're going to do that now. And again, you can only do this out of combat, so usually I use it when I prepare, for a fight. But now you'll notice that Arcane Recovery isn't available, and those charges are spent. Would have been worth it because I would have put some really cool, spells on me. Now, some spells will scale in effectiveness when you upcast, and some spells won't. Let's take Mage Armor, for example. Mage Armor is great because it lasts until your long rest. So it stays up. Adds a little more defense. And since wizards are squishy, they don't have a lot of hit points, it's extremely useful to have stuff like this up. And since it stays up, that's even more beneficial. I could use a level 1 spell slot to cast it. Or if I have no level 1 spell slots, I could use a level 2. If I'm out of those, I could use a level 3, or God forbid, I could use a level 4. Why do I say God forbid? Well, it would be a waste of a level 4 spell slot. It would have to be, I would have to really need this spell to justify that. Because Mage Armor doesn't scale with the slot in terms of effectiveness. Some spells do, some spells don't. All we have to do to find out is read the description. Mage Armor gives you 13... Mage Armor lasts until long rest. Mage Armor gives you 13 armor class plus your dexterity modifier. And I checked the level 2 version, no change. I checked the level 3 version, no change. I checked the level 4 version, no change. So I really would have to be desperate to waste a higher level spell slot just to cast this. So you simply look at the description of the spell to determine whether it scales in effectiveness with the slot used to cast it. Magic Missile does. And this is one of the most important spells in the game because it never misses. So, Magic Missile, 2 to 5 force damage for a projectile, 3 projectiles. And that's pretty good. That's 6 to 15 potential damage. Well, what if I cast it as a level 2 spell? Oh, hold on a second here. I get 4 projectiles. 8 to 20 potential damage. What if I cast it as a level 3 spell? Well, damn. 5 projectiles. potentially 10 to 25 damage there. That's a big deal. 6 projectiles for a spell that never misses. That's kind of a big deal. I usually use it as a finisher when I really, really have to kill something that's almost dead. Because of that, because it always hits, and you can scale its damage based on the slot, the spell slot. Invisibility, it kind of scales. Like, for example, if I use a level 2 slot to cast it, I can only use it on one creature. But if I cast it as a level 3 spell, I can use it on 2 creatures. Very nice. And, of course, 3 targets if I cast it as a level 4 spell. So that's a huge plus right there. So now that we've gone over that, how spell slots affect the spells you're casting, and how to recover spell slots with Arcane Recovery, we really got to get into preparing and memorizing spells. So for that, we're going to bring up the shortcut menu. There's right trigger, and we're going to go to Spellbook. So here you can see all the spells that Gale has prepared. But there are 2 critical menus that you go to from this screen. For me, X to prepare spells and Y to learn more. So I'm going to hit X to prepare spells. Every spell that Gale has is going to show up under known spells. You got to go down to level 1, and then you got to go up to level whatever. Okay? The ones that he is actively prepared to use have check marks on them. The ones that aren't prepared don't have check marks. So let's pretend for a moment that he really, really needs to prepare Fog Cloud. Well, unfortunately, we're all our spell preparation slots are used up, 10 for 10. So he's going to have to drop one of these. It doesn't matter which. He could drop a high-level spell, which obviously wouldn't be ideal, but truth is, he can only cast a single 4th level spell anyway before long rest. So unless he's using Arcane Recovery, it doesn't really make sense. These are both combat spells. So I'm going to drop one. I'm going to drop Wall of Fire, and he still has a level 4 spell. So that will protect him, and he can attack with Fireball. So we're going to go with... So now that I drop that, I have an open space for Fog Cloud. So these, are versatile slots or spaces. They can be filled by any level of spell. It doesn't matter what. But, his repertoire is kind of weak. I mean, look at this. He hardly has any spells in his book. So how do we fix that? Well, now that he's got Fog Cloud, he's got what he needs. But there's probably better spells to do what he needs to do with Fog Cloud. So that brings us back to this screen, and that brings us to the other menu. Hit Y to learn more spells. Let's go ahead and do that now. Now, this is every character in your party. When you determine where these spells are coming from, they're coming from scrolls. My character, I think, has all of these scrolls. So these are in my inventory. These aren't even in Gale's inventory. But look at this. Now the gold the gold cost to learn this stuff is what really hurts. But let's go to, let's see here. Web. Okay, Fog Cloud's great, but what he could really use right now would be Web. So let's go ahead and spend 100 gold to learn that. And as you see on the bottom, I have to hold the A button down to learn it. So it's going to cost me a web scroll, and it's going to cost me 100 gold. Here we go. Now he's learned it. So let's go back and go to prepare spells. Voila. At the cost of using up a scroll, he now has permanent access to that spell. So I'm going to remove Fog Cloud from the list of spells that are ready to go, basically. And I'm going to add Web, and now he can cast it. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Bring up my action menu. I can upscale it, but when I read the description, I don't see any benefit for doing that. So I'm just going to cast it as a level 2 spell. And although it's somewhat hard to see, trust me, that area is webbed. Don't believe me? And now I can't move at all. Great way to slow down a bunch of enemies coming after you. Alright, so that basically runs it down as succinctly as I can. If you have questions, you can always ask in the comments. Feel free to like the video if this was helpful. And I wish you all the best of luck in your wizard spell experimentation and implementation. Best of fortune to you in your journeys. Stay safe.